Tamir Rice, a 12-year-old black youth, was shot and killed by police officers this Saturday. I was speechless when I read this story, and I can't help but be emotionally affected, especially when you take a look at the details surrounding the situation. I want you to take a look at the footage so you can get an idea of what happened.
I'm sitting in the park at West Boulevard by the West Boulevard Rapid Transit Station. And there was a guy there with a pistol. You know, it's probably fake, but he's like pointing it at everybody. The guy keeps pulling it in out of his pants. It's probably fake, but you know what? I'm getting ready to leave, but you know what? He's right there by the, you know, the youth center or whatever. And he keeps pulling it in and out of his pants. I don't know if it's real or not. You know?
Okay, we'll send a call to. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
So here in the audio, you can hear that the 911 dispatcher is speaking to the man who reported the incident, and the man repeats about 3 times in the video, "I think the gun is fake. I'm not sure that it's real or not." However, the police department has issued a report that says that the police officers at the scene were not given this information and shot the boy as he pulled out the gun. Now, new evidence also says that apparently the boy did not point the gun. The officers simply told the boy to raise his hands. As the boy raised his hands, the officers shot him. And to put this more into perspective, the reports also say that he was 10 feet away. So one of the big questions is, did the police officers use excessive force here, especially given that A, they were so close and could have used some other method, and 2, the gun was fake, and the reports clearly say that there were suspicions that the gun was fake. It was actually a pellet gun, similar to a BB gun, that was completely false.
So it's a tough call. We don't know, and it of course matters. Did he raise his hands? Did he raise his hands with the gun in the hands? Then, you know, look, if he raised them with the gun in the hands, they might have been justified. And we don't know. So it's important that it be investigated, and it be investigated sort of correctly. And
you're too kind, Ben. I'm outraged, and I'm outraged because this is not a one-off incident. There's a pattern of this. There's a pattern of police and excessive force. This happens all the time. Just go to Google and start typing in unarmed, police shoot unarmed, and then it'll just pull up 100 cases, okay, of people being shot by the police who are not armed. So this happened, what, yesterday? 2 days ago?
Saturday.
On Saturday. So earlier this year, actually 2 days ago, another guy, black, named Akai Gurley, he was shot by cops in New York City in a housing project. Mm-hmm. In September, John Crawford, 22 years old, he was shot at a Walmart in Ohio. In August of this year, Michael Brown famously was shot in Ferguson. All of these guys are unarmed. And in July of 2012, Manuel Diaz, 25, was shot by Anaheim cops, which led to a lot of protests. Again,
Steve,
unarmed.
You're right, there's a pattern, but it's critical, as we would if this were a black defendant in Mississippi in 1957, that we look at the actual facts of the case. And so, and I'm not that, and my facts to the case would be like, these cops are on administrative leave, and you consider, did they do all they could to identify the weapon? Did they? But I mean, we saw the picture. Was that you had us show the picture of the gun? That looks like a gun. That's the point of the BB gun. That's the point. They look like real guns. And as always, I've thought, because there have been whole television shows, dramatic television shows, where the issue is, like a cop, I remember in a show, taking the pellet out of, taking the orange cap off the pellet gun. But like, that's not enough of a deterrent. That's not like, the gun needs to be, and there's legislation in Ohio now to make sure these guns are orange. Right, or green, or something else.
Brightly colored, so that they'll be easily distinguishable from real guns.
That looks like a gun, and it particularly looks like a gun at night.
Yeah. So you were talking about similar cases and what happens in similar cases. Now, I think it's important to mention that just earlier this year in Santa Rosa, there was a case very much like this case in which police officers shot a boy with a pellet gun. And in that particular case, prosecutors decided not to file criminal charges, which was an outrage in the community and elsewhere across the nation. It wasn't talked about as much. This one seems to be getting more publicity, but unfortunately, it seems like this one might be headed in the same direction, given the previous results of the last case.
All right, so I mean, you're right, Ben. Okay, I'm not saying that we should convict the cops right away. My point is, the justifiable outrage that yet another unarmed child
I agree with that.
was killed by police. And in this instance, this 12-year-old boy, he's at a playground, and the reports came in, and so I'm not even saying it's necessarily all the policeman's fault, the guy who shot him, but in that 911 call, clearly, as Lizette pointed out, multiple references to the gun probably being fake. That has to be communicated to the police.
No question.
So whether it's the 911 operator's negligence or mistake, or the police officers who overreacted, who were just itching to shoot someone, I don't know. But we need to have better protocols in place so that this doesn't happen so frequently. It happens way too much in our country, where police officers are acting under color of law is killing our citizens, and it's unacceptable.
We need better protocol, and we also need better training, as you mentioned. So there are many studies that have shown, one in particular, for example, in 2005, showed that police officers have a propensity to shoot black people more than white people in crime situations. So they're quicker to pull the trigger and less likely to give the person the benefit of the doubt. And that's an issue. The other issue here is that we haven't taken action on the second fact that if you train police officers, this can somewhat be reversed. So clearly it's a lack of training and a lack of sort of awareness and action on the part of police departments.
Yeah, and the issue isn't always race. I mean, the issue is always race.
But it's part of it.
No, hold on, let me finish that, because the issue is always race with the dead person. Because the dead person, well, not always. We saw the case, with the Kelly, here in Southern California. But the victim here, and obviously in Ferguson, this in particular is a boy, but in Ferguson, a young black kid. So, but in this case, like the police chief and the mayor of Cleveland is born to a black mother and I think an Italian father, and the police chief is black, and I don't even know the race of the officers. I was looking for that. We don't even know that. I mean, so when we're talking about training, frequently black officers are maybe not as ready, but frequently they're just cops. They have the mindset of a cop. It's not about whether the cop is black or white. And so this might not be so much a race issue where it was as clearly delineated as in Ferguson, but the victim, it is always about race, or so often about race. And how could it be possible? Two things they're already doing wrong. The police say they've looked at the video, there is video, and they've seen it, and it's clear that the kid that looked like he had a gun, and the cops act. Well, then let us see it. You're going to have to show it to us eventually. How long we think that's going to happen.
So Ben,
sorry, real quick. So one, get out in front of it, and secondly, when they say that information, it's too quick that they've already shared, that information wasn't conveyed. So that's the part I don't believe right away. Yeah. Maybe it wasn't conveyed, but they're like, nope, it looked done. No, they never told the cops. Let's wait and find out you've tracked it. And if so, as you guys have said, why on earth wasn't it conveyed? Why doesn't the woman calling it in say, person with a gun might be fake, they said, in a playground. It's a child. But all of that has already been nope, cop didn't hear about that. They've already decided, and they have already, in the first 24 hours after this incident happened, framed it as and I bought into it already a little bit. The cops did nothing wrong. It was a fake gun. They took it out. So I don't know. Maybe that is going to be what happened. It's entirely possible that that's what happened. But let's, for the love of God, slow it down and make sure it's properly investigated. It does, at least right now, that Cuyahoga County prosecutors are looking at.